the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 RS, and this is the first generation of the GT4 RS and probably the last generation of the GT4 RS, because if there's ever a replacement, it's going to have double the horsepower, double the torque, much faster 0 to 100 km/h timing. However, a lesser top speed, because the USP of this car is obviously the sound. The next generation, if it ever comes, is not going to have any sound. Yes, you guessed it right. It's going to be electric. Porsche is going to be replacing this car with an electric sports car, which doesn't make much sense at all because the sound is the real highlight of this car. Now, this key obviously has the blue treatment on it, which is an optional extra for rupees 76,000. Unlock the car, lock the car, open the front, open the boot. But don't be shocked, because the price of this car on road Mumbai is rupees 3.25 crores. However, this particular car costs almost rupees 4 crores because there's almost rupees 70 lakhs worth of optional kit on this car. The big one obviously is the YSAC package, which adds a carbon fiber hood, carbon fiber wing mirrors, carbon fiber air intake and a carbon fiber rear spoiler as well, along with 935 style exhaust tips, the Porsche 935. You get YSAC logos on the inside and you also get a lot of race tech on the dashboard, and further leather and race techs can be added for around rupees 3.25 lakhs, which this car is having. In fact, this paint shade, which is the shark blue paint, is 6.59 lakh rupees. Yes, that's another option. And how did I get this car in this area with so less ground clearance? It has the front axle lift system, which lifts the car by 30 mm, which is priced at 5.32 lakhs, and essential if you buy this particular car. I'll go through all the options when I'm walking through the vehicle. Let me show you why this car is so awesome, because it has a lot of aero trickery. Firstly, this thing is almost touching the ground because low ground clearance. Obviously, it says GT4 RS here. In fact, it has winglets right here, and this is for better airflow. This is actually the DRL, which also converts into the indicator here, as well as here. The lights are actually very bright at night. Amazing all LED lights, of course. But the Porsche logo is not the regular one. Usually you get plastic or metal logos. Here, it's a sticker. In the interest of weight saving, air flows from here. I don't know where, but those Naka ducts push air right into the brakes to cool them as well. If I swipe it like this, the front should open, or I can just press it like this and open the front as well, because this thing has usable storage. So this is 125 liters, which is big enough. You get two of these first aid kits. I don't know why there are two, but yeah, there are two first aid kits in this car because it's a two-seater probably. Light placement here, that is the warning triangle. Inside here, you actually get the towing hook. Meanwhile, here you get the tire inflator, because obviously this car does not have a spare wheel. Yeah, you can't expect a spare wheel in a car which doesn't have any space whatsoever. So from the Naka duct, air gets pushed right inside here to the brakes. This is, I think, for the brake fluid. Says Porsche here. Washer fluid goes in right there. That is the chassis number. And this is full carbon fiber in the interest of weight saving. Exposed carbon fiber, which looks awesome. Obviously, you can add decals as well if you want, just to, distinguish your car. If you want to do that, that's very much possible as well. Rain sensing wipers. And what are these vents here? This is actually to release the pressure from the wheel wells. So air comes out from here. When you drive the car, you can realize some hot air coming out from there. Lot of aero trickery. Fuel goes in right here. I love the fuel cap as well. I mean, the attention to detail here is just mind-blowing. If you notice, it's a very different design, the way the cut has been done here. These are really low profile tires. At the front, slightly higher profile because 245/35/20s. It has 16.2 lakh worth optional brakes, because these are the Porsche carbon ceramic composite brakes, which are very expensive. 408 mm is the size of the front disc. Yellow colored brake calipers with Porsche written here. GT4 RS written right there. Now that is another option for rupees 1.43 lakhs. The length of this car almost 4.5 meters. The wheelbase is almost 2.5 meters. So yeah, it's a compact car in that regard. And this is the air intake, but it does collect a lot of road debris as well. Now, because this is the GT4 RS, it obviously needs to breathe better. That's the reason they've actually removed the quarter glass from here and added another air intake right here. Again, this is finished in carbon fiber. This is directly connected to the air box. At the rear, tire size is obviously bigger because 295/30/20. Again, yellow color brake calipers look super duper cool. The rear disc size is actually 380 mm, slightly smaller, but look at the size of the tires. Massive, yeah, the massive tires give great grip because this is obviously rear wheel drive. It says GT4 RS here. That Porsche stickering is part of the YSAC package. This is the swan neck spoiler. If you notice the design, this part looks like that of a swan's neck, and this is full carbon fiber which can be adjusted using Allen keys. Yes, manual adjustment here. Now it looks very purposeful because of the massive spoiler. You get a high mounted stop lamp, GT4 RS written here, which is a sticker. Porsche logo right there. The lights are nice. In fact, the indicators work here. That happens to be the rear fog light, and you get 935 style titanium exhaust tips on both the sides. You get an aggressive diffuser as well. You get 4 parking sensors at the rear. That is the rear parking camera. I love the color of the car. I think it looks absolutely stunning. Straight away, let's open the boot because it's actually quite usable here. Surprise, surprise. This can hold 136 liters, which is a lot. In fact, oil goes in here, water goes in right there. It says GT4 RS. So that is the rear mid engine. You get a roll cage, which is part of the Club Sport package, for which they don't charge you any money. Yay! Finally something is free with a Porsche. However, this is made of aluminium. If you want titanium, you have to pay money for that, obviously, because nothing is free in the Porsche world. So yeah, it's actually quite practical, which is very surprising to me. You also get these hooks so you can secure your luggage if you want, which actually brings me to the question, can we reduce the weight any further? Firstly, these wheels are aluminium, forged aluminium. If you want forged magnesium wheels, you have to pay rupees 30 lakhs for it. However, that will actually reduce the weight of the car by 10 kgs. I'd rather stop eating and reduce my weight than to spend 30 lakhs to reduce the weight there. However, weight reduced in the cabin doesn't have that much of an importance than the weight which has been reduced at the wheels, obviously. So yes, go ahead and pay those 30 lakhs, please. You get 2 fire extinguishers, each cost rupees 30,000. Why are they 2? I don't know. And obviously eats into the leg room of the passenger who's sitting here. It says YSAC RS right here. It even says YSAC RS on the headrest. Now this is actually a 6-point harness, a 3-point seat belt. Here you have to buckle it properly, but you get the regular seat belt as well, which has this sort of a dark blue finishing, which costs rupees 56,000. In fact, this thing illuminates at night, which costs around rupees 85,000 as well. And it's a practical car because the glove box is decent size. There's a USB charging socket here. That is a USB-A, and you get a 12-volt charging socket, which is quite hidden. But there are no cup holders. Actually, they are. Just press it like this, and you've got 2 cup holders. So Porsche has actually thought about practicality, which is quite amazing. And it has got 6 airbags. Yeah, that's right. This car has got 6 airbags for 2 people. How is that even possible? I don't know. But it says airbag here. So airbags have been put almost everywhere. In fact, it says airbag here as well. You see this race text finishing, this carbon fiber sort of a treatment here, which is quite amazing. Now this car doesn't have the optional Bose sound system, which costs rupees 2.4 lakhs. 6 speaker system, you don't need it because this car has an amazing soundtrack. Obviously, some storage space here with a net. The door pockets are also decent size. Frameless doors, which are quite amazing. And the doors obviously shut with a nice thud as well. This car looks absolutely amazing. I love the winglets. Don't they look super cool? Yes, full focus on aero efficiency, full focus on weight reduction as well, which is mind-blowing to say the least. But this blue color is just too expensive. I don't know why it's so expensive, but it is what it is. If you buy a Porsche, be ready to splurge out a lot more stuff. I mean, a lot of more money. However, this car, since it has the Club Sport package, it gets this single piece carbon bucket seats as well, which are extremely uncomfortable, which can only be adjusted for height, as well as you can move them ahead and behind using this lever. Yeah, it's quite the effort, but this does not recline, so you're sitting quite upright. Obviously, you can see the roll cage here. You have to put the key inside. There's no keyless entry, there's no push button start. This is something I love. Light controls here, proper dead pedal right there. These are the controls for the power windows, and this is for the mirror adjustment. It gets this loop, yes, a fabric loop to open the door, because weight saving, brother, weight saving. Information about the engine number is written there. Information about the vehicle's weight and all that has been written here, obviously. Now getting in is quite the acrobatics. I'm just going to make that effort in a second. Before that, let me show you. You can open the trunk from here. You can open the boot from here. Yeah, it's actually quite practical, which surprises me. The dashboard is quite old school. Lot of race text, which is basically Porsche speak for Alcantara. And it looks absolutely lovely. This car is bathed in Alcantara. I love it. Let's shut the door. Yeah, there it shuts. You obviously get a mirror here along with 2 lights as well. Same is the case here as well. Light controls here on the top. And this is obviously the inside rear view mirror, which is auto dimming, but not that you can see much behind. See the carbon fiber? Amazing. There's some amount of storage space here, but this is actually the smartphone compartment, which costs around rupees 97,000, because you get a wireless charger here. You get a USB-A. There's no USB-C in this car, but it gets wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity. In fact, the rear windscreen is thinner for weight reduction, and the carpets are also light in terms of weight. So yes, a lot of weight reduction has happened. This is actually the ashtray and the cigarette lighter, which is sort of an unnecessary thing in today's day and age, but since this car was developed in 2015 and launched in 2016, okay, it was developed somewhere around that time, launched in 2016, not this particular car, not the GT4 RS, but this generation of the Cayman. Obviously things are very retro, like there are no buttons on the steering wheel, no buttons at all. There is no heads up display here, and this car feels kind of dated in that regard. However, that is the essence of this vehicle. You get this chrome surround around the AC vents, and this being a Porsche obviously has the typical clock right there, which also works for the sports chrono stopwatch as a lap timer. Meanwhile, you get a gear lever which kind of feels like a manual here, lot of buttons. So this is for the exhaust, this is for the lift function, this is for stop start system, this is for the sport mode for the gearbox, this is for the sport suspension or the sports chassis, ESC off, which is basically for the slide mode, and this is for the crash mode, because if you turn off both ESC and traction control, this car will go out of control. Unlock the car, lock the car, and this is obviously for the hazard. Look at the amount of Alcantara almost everywhere. So straight away, let's turn on the car by twisting this. There it rose to life. In fact, this cluster now, it actually has a very nice effect of the vehicle silhouette every time you turn on and off the vehicle. That's quite cool. I turn on the indicators, but I turn off the car because I have to show you the key as well. There's a yellow band here which helps you decide where exactly you're going. I'm just kidding about that. But I love the fact that the steering has no buttons. There's no distraction here. Now you've got physical buttons for the air conditioning system. It's a dual zone climate control air conditioning, which is actually very effective. You've got a lot of physical buttons here for the audio system. And this says Porsche. What is it? No, it's not a cassette player. It has two SD card slots and a micro SD as well. But there's also a CD changer here. This is a 7-inch screen which has some menus. Let me quickly get into reverse. This is the reverse parking camera. The quality of the camera isn't that great, and you obviously get adaptive guidelines as well. Now what do you have here? You have got inbuilt navigation, which actually works decently well. How do I come out of this menu? By pressing this home button here. There are a few apps which will obviously depend if you have connected your phone to the vehicle, and then in the car settings you can see a bit about the vehicle information. You know what? Porsche will let you delete the infotainment system on this car. Yes, that's right. You can delete the infotainment system for no cost. Why no cost? If I'm removing the infotainment system, Porsche should pay me some money. Now, obviously that is for weight reduction, but doesn't make any sense because this is not going to add much weight, and satellite navigation as well as a screen to see a few things would be nice. There is ambient lighting which comes somewhere white color, but you don't operate it from here. You actually operate it from there. How do you operate this particular screen if there is no buttons on the steering wheel? There's actually this lever which says up and down. So you use this to browse through. There's a lot of stuff you can see. So there's obviously a G-force meter. It shows you power and torque meters here, then vehicle information. There's obviously for the audio system control and navigation. So all this is there, and then you can get into sub-menus as well. It's very expansive, not difficult to read, because if I press it inside, I can get into the menu. If I pull it outside, I can come out of this menu. So yeah, that's quite nice, but everything else is analog, including the speedometer and this tachometer, which is marked all the way to 9,000 freaking RPM, which is absolutely crazy. That's a highlight here. Cruise control switch, it gets paddle shifters obviously, and these are the controls for the indicators. This is for the wipers, which does have the auto function, I'm sure. In fact, the engine compartment, or rather the boot, also have multiple lights, so in the night you can see the beautiful engine cover obviously. Where is the electric parking brake? I mean, you can't see a physical handbrake obviously, so there has to be an electric parking brake. I love the way this is so freaking cool. Yeah, weight reduction for the win. Actually, this is the electric parking brake. So it is hidden out of sight, and now it is obviously activated. The materials, the carbon fiber, the Alcantara here is just mind-blowing, but it is all about the driving experience. Before that, let me use the horn. That is also nice. Let's start driving right away. Alright, it is time to start driving. Let's turn on the car. Oh, it rose to life straight away. I'm going to come into PDK Sport, Sport Suspension, Sport Exhaust. That's about it. Into drive mode, air conditioning off. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator. Hazard lights off, revving the motor, launch control. Oh my goodness! This car car is a rocket ship. The way it sounds is amazing. Because of the sound alone, it definitely feels faster than it actually is, but it's super duper 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 stiff. Obviously, you can feel every crevice of the road on the inside. It rattles your bones completely. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, it says in 4 seconds. Obviously, there wasn't optimum traction. Otherwise, it goes from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.4 seconds, which is very quick. 0 to 200 kilometers per hour in 10.9 seconds. Again, very, very, very quick. And this engine is absolutely glorious. The sound is mind-blowing. You know why? Because the engine is right behind me and the airbox is right next to my ear. So all the intake sounds, you can hear it. The engine sound, you can hear it. And there's no glass partition. No, not at all. There's absolutely nothing between you and the engine, which is obviously the highlight here. And that is the reason why it sounds as it sounds, because it's super duper loud. Obviously, you can hear so much on the inside. The gearing has been shortened here when compared to the other 911 models, sorry, the 718 models or the GT models as well, because they wanted to make sure that the car feels more aggressive, and the shorter gearing definitely helps in that regard. But before all that, because we are in India, the most crucial question is kitna deti hai bhai? Okay, there's a speed breaker. Let's lift the nose, which can lift till I think a speed of around 50 kilometers per hour, because it auto unlifts or auto drops at approximately 60 kilometers per hour, and you have to obviously go around like this to prevent the car from scraping. So it lifts the front axle, which means the front is not an issue, but it's still quite lower down, so you have to be a bit careful there for sure. Now this car obviously is extremely stiff, but it's very much focused towards handling. That's the reason the ride is not good here at all. In terms of power, this one produces 500 PS of power at 490 horsepower. The torque output is 450 Newton meters. And this car has no asthma. There are no turbochargers. What am I saying? There's no turbocharger. There's no electric assist here. There's no four-wheel drive. In fact, this is as raw as it gets. So power is going to the rear wheels. So much power going to the rear wheels. But there's good amount of traction. There's torque vectoring, obviously. So old school in that regard by not having any of the modern bits of battery assist, or it's not a hybrid. There is no turbochargers. This is an actually aspirated motor, and that's the reason it revs all the way till 9,000 RPM. Yes, 9,000 RPM redline compared to the regular GT4. Firstly, it is around I think 23-30 kgs lighter, and it also revs 1,000 RPM more, because the regular GT4 will rev till approximately 8,000 RPM. So that is another USP here. The fuel tank capacity, was I saying kitna deti and I forgot about it? Yes, I did. So the fuel tank capacity is 64 liters, but Porsche also sells you an optional bigger tank of 90 liters. This will return between 3 to 6 kilometers per liter depending on your driving style, and if you're buying this car, obviously you're going to rev the nuts out of it. It comes with a 7-speed PDK gearbox, which is Porsche Doppelkupplung, which is basically a dual clutch automatic gearbox. There is no manual here, and this actually looks very much like a manual gear lever, but this is obviously an automatic. You've got paddle shifters. You can manually shift gears in the trip rolling function, and it will hold on to a gear. It will not upshift unless and until you decide to do so, giving you complete manual control of things, which is why GT4 is a GT4 now. Sorry, this is a GT4 RS. Absolutely bonkers a car. The sound is unbelievable. It is so loud. It is so loud, so soothing, and that's one of the major reasons why you would want to buy one, because of the sound of this car. In fact, the engine is the same as the GT3, the 911 GT3. However, the 911 GT3 makes 10 horsepower more. Why? Because this is a rear mid engine. The 911 is obviously a rear engine, so they had lesser space. So firstly, they flipped the engine by 180 degrees, and after flipping the engine by 180 degrees, there was little space left, because of which everything was like two-sewed inside, resulting in more back pressure and 10 horsepower loss, obviously. But that doesn't really matter, because this is actually faster than the GT3. Yes, it's faster than the 911 GT3 by 6 seconds around the Nürburgring, in spite of the fact that the GT3 is having 10 horsepower more, but the GT3 is also 6 kgs heavier in terms of weight. Absolutely glorious, the sound. Honestly, this is a track car, and that's the reason I have waited to tell you the displacement of the engine, because I'm going to use the words to transition to the track. The real USP of this car is obviously track. where it absolutely excels, because handling is something where it is annihilating everything, because it's a Porsche, so it handles like a charm, obviously. So this car is powered by a 4-liter naturally aspirated motor. This is a flat 6 motor which produces, I keep forgetting, but 500 horsepower and 450 Newton meters of torque. Feels so much more raw. Actually it feels louder because the engine is much more closer, because it's a rear mid engine, right? So I can hear a lot more. We're going to test the top speed, what top speed we can do, and here we go. Absolutely mental. The sound is absolutely mental. Brakes are super sharp as well. Oh my god, what an engine. Ooh. Traction control light blinking. The shifts are super duper aggressive. And this is actually a 4-liter flat 6 naturally aspirated engine. That's the reason it redlines all the way at 9,000 RPM. Corners really very well. Feels super engaging to drive. And then I think the sound is way too much, enough to give you a sort of a headache. Steering feels super precise. Ride is obviously very stiff. 0 to 100 km per hour in 3.5 seconds. Top speed, I think around 300 km per hour. I don't know if you can hear me because the engine is loud and how. Downshifts are way too aggressive. This is insane, absolutely insane. Obviously it feels like a charm to drive. Super stiff, super agile, no body roll, excellent body control. What a fantastic steering wheel as well. But even on the smooth tarmac of the track, it feels super duper stiff. So out on the road, obviously it feels crazy stiff. Yeah, the ride quality of this car is going to blow your mind in the negative way, because you have to be really committed to drive this car. It is very stiff. I can't tell you in words. And feels oversteery because rear wheel drive obviously, and the brakes. Super duper sharp as well. I just broke my phone, I feel. Yeah, my phone went through the seat belts. Oh, crazy. Now we will time it. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, launch control. That's 0 to 100 in 3.78 seconds. I sense traction control kicking in and cutting power, because unless and until you're on a drag strip, I don't think it can go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.4 seconds, because our roads obviously have some amount of dust, so that results in the car sliding a bit. You can turn off traction control, you can turn off ESC first for drifting and then turn off traction control as well. ESC and traction control can be turned off, and when you do that, naturally this car will go sideways, which is because it's rear wheel drive and it has a lot of power as well, so naturally that's something you can expect to happen. I don't need to talk, the engine is enough, the way it sounds is more than enough for you to have a ball of a time. In fact, this car has a top speed of 314 kilometers per hour, which is impressive considering the aero bits on this car. It still managed to hit 314 kilometers per hour, and the weight is just 14-15 kgs, which is quite less considering the engine also weighs quite a lot here. So yeah, 14-15 kgs is the weight of this car, so they've kept the weight in check for sure. 25% more downforce thanks to the rear wing and the air inlets, and obviously the front splitter as well. That improves the downforce of this car dramatically, and what a joy it is to drive this car and go through the gears. You can drive just in first and second gear. I think Porsche has intentionally shortened the gearing so that people can really enjoy this car on public roads as well, because there's a speed limit. So if you're following the speed limit, you can still redline it in first and second gear. So that's another USP of the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 RS. Yes, long name. Naam lambe aur darshan bhi lambe iske. So let me quickly get into the history of this car. So the Cayman was first launched I think around 2005-2006. So the first generation of this particular body style came in Boxster only, which is basically a convertible. However, with the second generation of the Boxster, there was also a Cayman. So this is technically the third generation, but it is actually the fourth generation, and the fifth generation is expected as soon as next year, which will be electric only. So twice the horsepower, much faster 0 to 100 km per hour timing, but it will be electric, so it will not have this. The glorious sound, the rawness, the unadulteratedness, no ADAS, no rear wheel steer, none of that, just the engine, a lovely steering wheel which offers really razor sharp handling and a massive smile on your face. So the Cayman name actually comes from Cayman, which is an alligator breed, and Crocs also tried to use that, so Porsche obviously sued them and made sure they did not sell any of the Croc shoes with that naming in Germany, obviously. So the evolution of this car has been such that to come to the fourth generation, to come with the GT4 RS model, because they have never ever got an RS for the Cayman or the Boxster, because the RS model is reserved for the 911 obviously. And in terms of the 911, this car costs exactly as much as a GT3. Yes, 3.25 crores on road Mumbai is the exact price of a GT3. In fact, it's the price of the new hybrid version of the 911 in India. So for the same price, you can either get the GT4 RS, you can get the GT3, and you can also get the hybrid version of the latest 911, the one which obviously emphasizes on performance and not efficiency with the hybrid motor. Expensive, yes, the optional extras are even more expensive, making you wonder, is it worth splurging so much on a GT4 RS? I would say definitely yes, because this is a collector's item. Porsche will never ever, or rather not even Porsche, nobody will ever make such a hardcore road car, which is basically a track car for the road. It's unbelievable. Now we are in top gear, we are in 7th gear at around 100 kilometers per hour, 2,500 RPM. On the tachometer. This engine doesn't have a low end grunt as such, so it is a typical engine in the sense old school. The more you rev it, the more it rewards you. The higher you rev, the happier you are. So because there are no turbochargers, obviously there's no electric assist. Low end is kind of flat. Mid range is when it starts building up, and past 6,000 RPM is when it goes mental like this. Let's see you do the wiper test right away. Who cares about the wipers when you have? Unbelievable. This car is so loud that I've got a notification on my watch. It says that you have hit 90 decibels of sound level. So just be careful. And my response to my watch is, check this watch! This generation of the Cayman, which is codenamed 982, the 4th generation model, came in 2016. So the replacement is due anytime soon. And because it's so old now, obviously the telematics and the infotainment and all that seems a bit old. I have to really slow down over bad roads because yes, you can hear the sound. The gear shifts are super aggressive. There are no drive modes here. Yeah, it's about pure crazy driving every time you get into the car. However, you can alter a few things. So within PDK Sport, the gearbox is a lot more aggressive. Meanwhile, you can change the chassis mode. So normal chassis, sport chassis. And it gives you information here when the car is lifting, when the car is dropping down. Sport exhaust obviously sounds mental mad. Not that the car doesn't sound mental mad regularly, but it sounds even more mental mad. And this car is a fastback coupe. In fact, the GT4 RS is not limited. Porsche obviously limits a lot of its cars, like the 911 GT3 RS is almost impossible to get unless you have a lot of other Porsches. However, this thing is not limited, but getting one in India is not easy. You have to have connections, otherwise you simply cannot get this car because obviously it is in a lot of demand and naturally India doesn't get the priority because our market isn't that big. By the way, the 718 name has come with the 4th generation model, so we'll just stop here and launch it once again. Look at the aggressive downshifts. Isn't that crazy? We're going to come to the G-force meter here. Car turned off, huh? Trying to save fuel, trying to save the world, trying to save the environment. Very nice. There we are. Okay, let's launch this car. Left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, revving the motor, launch control. 3.66 seconds now. It's a downslope, obviously. So you have to turn off traction control, go to a grippy tarmac, and then only you're able to put all that power down. So the Cayman range starts at rupees 1.75 crores and you have to pay 6 lakhs more for the Boxster, which is obviously the convertible version of this car, and it's called the Boxster because of the Boxer engine, obviously. Why is 718 though? Simply because 718 is a tribute to the racing which Porsche did and won with lightweight, and when they downsized from 6 cylinders to 4 cylinders, because the low variants obviously have 4 cylinders, they realized that they need to talk about weight. Well, weight being the crucial part in ensuring that the performance remains more or less the same as before. The price of this car, I already told you, 3.25 crores on road Mumbai, which is the same as the Carrera 4 GTS, which is the hybrid version, whose name I had earlier forgotten. That car or this car or even the 911 GT3 all cost the same, right? So which one will you choose? Let me know in the comment section below. So this car costs 3.25 crores on road Mumbai, which means that you pay 37 lakh rupees for the registration of this car. You end up paying 11 lakhs for the insurance of this car. So yes, it is quite expensive. But when you hear this sound, you forget everything, and that's the reason I'm going to tell you what are the speeds in every gear. So we're going to come into manual mode, downshift into first gear. First gear, it does 72 kilometers per hour. Second gear, it does 113 kilometers per hour. Third gear, I can't tell you, but on the track, it feels unbelievable. Only buy this car if you stay near the Budh International Circuit or the Chennai track or in Coimbatore, because they have 2 tracks there. Because this car is not meant for the road. Although it is decently practical for the road, but still you have to really go over speed breakers by, you know, turning, snaking around it, and then you have to always lift the nose. So you have to be a bit careful, not a bit, very careful indeed. But this makes you forget everything. Absolute amazing. What a car. This is a dream for most of us. And if you can buy a GT4 RS, close your eyes, beg, borrow, steal. No, not really. Go and buy it the right way. And once you get this car, you will forget every other car because of the glorious sound, the acceleration, the feel, the handling, and the ride quality will make sure that you remember each and every ride you take in this car. Maybe not for the best of reasons, but still, this is, I mean, every drive in this car is super memorable because everything is extreme here. Performance, mind-blowing. Okay, I have to slow down here. We are on the wrong side of the road. Bye.